So it's been a bit of a challenging week for us. Lots going on, and we've got to say though, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, absolutely amazing game. Alex, your PC sort of technology showcase video is already out now, and I think we wanted to get some information out there about the console versions. Tom is going to be handling that. He's already taking a look at that right now. But I think you and I have played the console versions, right, Oliver? You've had a good go on there. And I think this is really, really good because I was looking at Alex's video, which was like 4090 footage at what we thought was max settings until they actually came out with max settings, which takes it still further. But what we're seeing here is really impressive scalability of the engine down to much more modest levels of GPU and CPU horsepower. So what system did you play on? PS5?
I played on Series X.
Oh, okay,
so you have the full spectrum of units.
And thoughts?
It's beautiful. It's really stunning. It's really stunning. It feels like such a good match for those movies. I mean, the exteriors look incredible. The interiors look really, really good. It's very Crysis, like Alex said that in his review. I completely concur. I actually beat Crysis 3 recently again. I replayed it on my Nintendo Switch, which is actually a pretty decent port as it happens.
The port is exceptional.
That's a good port,
It's quite good. Yeah. And I mean, it reminds me a lot of that, especially like the section in Crysis 3 where you're going over the dam. Like you see a lot of that kind of areas in the game. Right. I don't think I've ever seen a game with half as much foliage before. Like, it's ridiculous how much they're pushing on screen. And I think the other thing that I'm really impressed about is the commitment to ray tracing. You have two ray traced effects in this title, RTGI and RT reflections. And that's true in the 30 FPS quality mode and the 60 FPS performance mode, which the 60 FPS performance mode, to my eyes, it was dropping some frames, but it's come a lot closer to 60 FPS than you might think for a title that's pushing that much advanced rendering technology with this much ray tracing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I played on PlayStation 5 and Series S, and PlayStation 5 seems to be very, very similar to what you're talking about with the Series X, as you might imagine. And I'm just really surprised at how well it holds up overall. Actually, thinking about it, let me just bring up my Slack here because Tom is looking at the game as we speak.
Right.
And he did supply the pixel counts for the Series X and the PlayStation 5. They appear to be the same. So the quality mode, which is targeting 30 frames per second, it's a dynamic resolution range between 1296p and 1800p. And the performance mode, which is targeting 60, it can be a little bit variable, but I don't know if you would concur on this, Oliver, but it seems to sit well within the VRR window. So if you've got a VRR display, it should be happy days. But even without, it's creditable. The resolution range there seems to be 864p, 40% of 4K, up to 1260p, 58% of 4K. So you do get a great deal more clarity on the 30 FPS mode. But the 60 FPS performance mode, this is another thing which I think is a pretty decent takeaway, is that the FSR2 implementation in the console versions at least, and I think it's been lauded on PC, it's actually pretty good, I think, in terms of detail retention. So any thoughts on that, Oliver? Did you concur with that one?
I mostly concur. I mean, on Series S, I played it a bit on Series S.
Ah, great.
It does have more visible breakup. Like I was seeing a little bit of that fizzle a little bit more, whereas in the other consoles I had to like get up close to the screen to see it. On Series S I could see it from a normal viewing distance. But that console has the full feature set at 30 FPS, albeit, but still very impressive. One thing I'm really impressed by too is that like the PC code, from what I can see, it is more advanced. Obviously it's more advanced. They're piling on some additional features there. They're piling on additional settings. But it feels like mostly iterative advancements over the console code. I don't know if you'd agree there, Alex, but like the console
I haven't
code,
even loaded up the consoles yet.
So I suppose so. But the console
we do have the console equivalent settings though.
It's not like, for instance, Alan Wake 2, where I felt like, man, console owners are kind of missing out a little bit here. I mean, it's a great looking game, but it's missing a little bit. It kind of feels like, hey, console owners, you're getting a great version of this game, and PC owners get to take it iteratively to like the next level, but not revolutionarily to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
yeah.
I haven't seen it up close, but that's based upon what the screenshots I've seen. It didn't look like a different game or something like that. It looked good, and everything you're saying about the foliage, if that is panning out on consoles, then yeah, that's like one of the. Other than the detail up close, but the fact that you get like this super dense foliage, like far into the distance away from the camera, and if that holds up just as well, like subjectively on the consoles, then you're getting like the same game. I think it's all going to be down to, like the precision of effects, like the ray traced reflections, the ray traced GI, presumably the cloud rendering. I don't imagine it's using like the max settings, like all these things that you imagine to get the performance up. And as far as I know, on the quality mode, I did talk with them. This should also be coming out at some point. I'm going to be editing it today after I finish this video. I'm going to be editing the transcription to an interview I did with 2 people who worked heavily in the tech development for the game. And they described there that the quality mode in the games, along with pushing up resolution, should be pushing up some quality CVARs as well too. So it should look better in other aspects. I'd imagine some of those are like related to like things like shadow quality. That's usually a thing people turn down when they try and get 60 FPS. So yeah, I don't know off the top of my head at the moment, but yeah, awesome looking game. I am very proud of everything they've created, and it makes me really happy because I see occasionally comments like, how can anyone compete with Unreal Engine 5? And like, to me, this is like, at least since we haven't seen any of the super big, expensive Unreal Engine 5 games come out necessarily, this is like that level. And it's also doing it in a way where I feel like it's offering a way better PC version than you'd see in most Unreal Engine 5 games. So I'm like really happy with the tech as a result. Like, it's really rare that you get to see such a good looking game run as well as this one does without issue. And if that's translating over to the consoles, that is sick. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I played it for a couple of hours on PlayStation 5 and Series S, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. It just looks so packed full of detail, and it looks cutting edge. I mean, personally, I don't know how to say this, but, looking at some of the Unreal Engine 5 games, some of the cutbacks required to use these cutting edge features arguably have been a bit too harsh. I guess the classic example is Immortals of Avium. It's typically when the UE5 games are targeting 60 frames per second. Something's kind of got to give when you're using that level of technology. And, by extension, there's the sense that, well, can the consoles handle it? Are they powerful enough? But then you go to look at Avatar, and the 30 FPS mode looks fantastic. Really does look phenomenally good. The caveat, I think, to that is that the motion blur isn't great. So 30 FPS looks very, very jarring compared to 60. But the point is the 60 FPS mode is very, very viable and looks great as well. And it's kind of given me a lot more faith in terms of the consoles. And more generally, I've been thinking about going back to like the Xbox 360 era, 2007, a couple of years after the launch, where the developers really started to get to grips with the new hardware. I kind of had shades of that feeling here as well, where, if we'd gone back to 2020 and we'd seen this running on a Series X or PlayStation 5, we'd have been completely blown away and possibly not believing that it was actually running on a Series X or PlayStation 5. But here we are a few years later, and they're finally getting to grips with the hardware. The game looks phenomenal, and I'd urge you to check it out because it just looks and plays great. Yeah. In fact, if you haven't looked at Alex's technology video, please do, because yes, that is high-end PC, but the core of the experience and the density is there on the consoles, and it looks terrific.